if somebody's saying, listen, you stink at free throws, you're like a 30% free throw shooter or something or less, whatever. They don't know the focus, commitment, grit, perseverance that you're putting in to improve and go from 30% to 50%, maybe one day 75%, whatever your goal is. And so you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your ability to stay on track to accomplish that goal. They don't need to know what the goal is or how you're doing it. And if they ask you, it's none of their business how you're going to do it. They could sit back and watch you do it. But you have to have that confidence in your abilities. There's going to be somebody that says, you can't do this. That's an outlandish goal. Why would you even try? You have to think in terms of, I got to stay committed. I got to stay confident. I got to handle the challenges that are before me. And I got to control my emotions because none of this matters. It's just what I'm focused on trying to accomplish.
Welcome to Charge Forward Coaching, the podcast for committed athletes and individuals who want to achieve more on and off the field. Hosted by James Blasco, certified mental toughness and resilience coach. You'll gain insights and inspiration from elite athletes, coaches, and others who know what it takes to excel. Are you ready to go to the next level? Then tune in, get inspired, and let's charge forward. Now here's your host, James Blasco.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Charge Forward Coaching Podcast. I'm James Blasco. Thanks for tuning in. So this is really the first in what will be a two-part series on what I'll call the critic or the dream killers. And there's kind of two forms that the critic comes in. There's one, the external, other individuals or groups or, God forbid, your own coach. And then there's the internal critic. And that's what we're going to cover in the second episode. So today we're going to focus on the external critic and dream killers. They're out there. Anytime you set a goal, especially if it's a big goal, especially if it's something that those who know you really can't imagine that you're trying to go for. Maybe they can, but they think that the goal itself is just way too big, and maybe you're not able to accomplish that. So these individuals, let's talk about two different types of individuals. There's the individuals who are going to set doubt in your mind because that's their goal. They're most likely not your friends, obviously. It could be a competitor, fellow competitor, but their goal is to make you doubt your abilities, make you doubt those goals that you set for yourself and how you're going to get to those goals. And ultimately, it's there to just deplete, your energy and your focus and your self-esteem. That's what it's there for. Then you have other folks who are critics, the dream killers, but they don't know it. That's not their intention. Those are your friends or family or your coaches or somebody, close to you. And what they're trying to do really is just maybe protect you. And so they may not see what you're fully capable of. They may also think that the goals are kind of just pie in the sky. And so what they're trying to do is put you on a path that protects you, not holds you back, but certainly doesn't help propel you forward. So here's the problem with either one of these critics or dream killers. The problem is you could choose to ignore them and put blinders on and say that doesn't impact me and so forth and so on. But the challenge is that once somebody speaks these words to you, they kind of go into your subconscious. They're there no matter what. You took in that information, and whether you're ignoring it or trying to ignore it, it's still there. And unfortunately will possibly pop up at another time or right in that moment. So, what impacts could that have? Well, psychologically, it could, as I mentioned, it could really impact your self-esteem. It could impact your energy. You could even become depressed because now you're questioning your decisions or what you're trying to aim for. There's also behavioral issues that could occur. Your performance on and off the field, your ability to focus during practice or training, those types of things. You have cognitive issues where all of a sudden you could begin to make poor decisions, or procrastinate or do things that delay your process, what you were doing moving towards your goal. And then from a physiological standpoint, you're looking at lower immune system. You don't have as much energy, and you could even become sick because of how you're responding to this negative feedback or negative information. So, of course, there's something you could do about it to help protect yourself, and that's going to be mental toughness, right? What we're here for. And mental toughness is going to be utilized in the 4 C's, right? Commitment, challenge, control, and confidence. And we have to know how to use the 4 C's to combat all this information we're getting that might not be helpful to us as we chase our goals. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Let's start with commitment. So with commitment, you're really, when these things happen, when somebody says something to you, or whether it's the people who love and care for you or somebody that's your competitor or so forth, you have to circle back to your goals. One of the first things you need to do is kind of reset and think about what you're trying to accomplish, and not just the immediate goals, but the big goal. What is your dream? You have to revisit that. And it could be something, maybe it's on your phone and you look at it real quick, or maybe you're at home and you have it up on your mirror or your wall, whatever it is, revisit the goals. You're probably doing that every day anyway, or at least you should. But especially in times when somebody's trying to plant seeds of doubt, you need to revisit the goals. You need to circle back on why you're doing what you're doing. Okay. The next thing is under control. And the important factor here is emotional control, because of course, when someone gives us information we don't want to hear, whether we believe it or not, you're going to have an emotion. Emotions happen like that. They're fast. You can't really stop them. If it's anger or sadness, whatever it might be, you're going to feel the emotion. But here's the thing. It really does only last for a minute or two. After that, you have the ability to extend that emotion or kind of hold the emotion off. And I know it's really hard to do. I'm pointing one finger at you and 3 back at me, but you can do it. And here's a couple ways you could help yourself. Number 1, take a deep breath. When you feel that emotion come on, let it happen. Take a deep breath, maybe 3 or 4, and relax your mind. Become open-minded. Okay. Then what you want to do is step away from the emotion. And what I utilize is I call it the interview. I kind of step outside myself mentally, and I interview myself in that emotion. And I ask, why am I feeling this emotion? Why is it making me feel this way? Who gave me this emotion? Who made me angry? Why would they have made me angry? What might be going on with them? Maybe it's their self-doubt, right? Maybe it's they don't believe in themselves, something along those lines. So they're kind of sharing that information with you. It really doesn't have anything to do with you. And then you process that emotion and you place it and manage it as you should. And I think that's a huge step when we're dealing with critics and dream killers, when we're choosing to move forward in light of them. The other thing is a challenge. So for me, this is about learning and risk orientation. Both of those factors play a role because number 1, risk, you're going to continue to strive towards your goals. You're not going to let those folks step in the way of what you're trying to do. And then from learning, I think these are great learning opportunities. It's really a chance for you to do the things like I just described. Practice handling your emotions, work on focusing on your goals, right? Getting the confidence back. We'll talk about that in a second, but it's a great learning opportunity. And guess what? You might even learn something about the person who you're speaking to, who's, giving you this advice or this feedback or whatever seed they're trying to plant. So learning orientation is really, really important. And then finally, back to confidence. You have to have confidence in your abilities, right? So if somebody's saying, listen, you stink at free throws, you're like a 30% free throw shooter or something or less, whatever. And maybe that's true. Maybe that is where you're at right now, but you know that you're working on it. You have a plan. They don't know you have a plan. They don't know what you do every day. They don't know the focus, commitment, grit, perseverance that you're putting in. to improve and go from 30% to 50%, maybe one day 75%, whatever your goal is. And so you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your ability to stay on track to accomplish that goal. They don't need to know what the goal is or how you're doing it. And if they ask you, it's none of their business how you're going to do it. They could sit back and watch you do it. But you have to have that confidence in your abilities. And the interpersonal confidence, that comes with how are you going to respond to this person? Are you going to get mad and yell at them or storm out of the room? Or are you going to share with them that, no, this is my goal. I hear you loud and clear how you feel about it, but I have a plan. I'm working on that plan every single day. I'm highly committed. I'm highly focused, and I'm not going to give up. So that's what I'm working towards. That's my dream. So that's how you can work on handling the critics, because they're going to be there. I don't care what you're doing. There's going to be somebody that says, you can't do this. That's an outlandish goal. Why would you even try? So-and-so tried that, right? Think about Spud Webb, 5'7". How many people do you think walked up to him and said, are you crazy? Playing the NBA? You probably can't even play on the high school team. And we all know what he did. And one of the funniest parts of his story is that he goes and wins the slam dunk contest in the NBA at 5'7". So you have to think in terms of, I got to stay committed. I got to stay confident. I got to handle the challenges that are before me. And I got to control my emotions, because none of this matters. It's just what I'm focused on trying to accomplish. Okay. So that's the outer critic. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the inner critic, who might be a little bit more challenging. In the meantime, you could always go to chargeforwardcoaching.com, learn a little bit more about mental toughness. We have a great assessment tool you could use, MTQ Plus. It takes about 15 minutes, and then you could have a session with me to kind of go through the information and review that information and give you some tools of how to overcome some challenges that you may have. But in the meantime, like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff, and keep charging forward.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Charge Forward Coaching. Remember, the journey to greatness is built on mental toughness and consistent effort. So head on over to chargeforwardcoaching.com and book a free discovery call to take the next step in your journey. Until next time, stay focused, stay determined, and keep charging forward.